I thought the funniest moment is when we segued into that.
Okay,
the
and Gabe,
rat.
you're gonna have to do an ending for the show.
Okay. But we
I don't want you to forget.
okay, yeah. After we do this, we can run into the Gillette commercial.
Okay, so after we do.
But I'll cue it, and when I start talking about toxic masculinity, that's when she can get it ready, and then I'll bring it in.
After this, he's gonna cue you for the Gillette show.
Yeah.
But with this one.
Okay.
5, 4,
Okay.
3.
We're back again. So one of the things that happened in 2018 before, the New Year's, General Kelly and General Mattis both resigned from the Trump administration. General Kelly was the chief of staff. General Mattis was the Secretary of Defense. And, we're both Marines, so we both know Marine Corps generals. General Mattis is like the god, right? General Mad Dog Mattis. And General Kelly is dope too. But my biggest thing is they're actually surprised that they resigned. And I'm like, why are you surprised? And I'm gonna tell you why it's not surprising and should have been expected. First of all, you have a Marine Corps general, 2 Marine Corps generals, and to be a general, that's like what, 30, 40 plus years of service? Right, so I mean, you're used to a certain structure. And then you have a very unorthodox candidate, president, who acts on impulse. And I'm not gonna say if that's good or bad because we can get into that later. But he does act on impulse, and he's like the total opposite of what a general is, or what a general expects on a day-to-day. And that's not a bad thing or a good thing, but it was hey, fuck this shit to them, right? Because
Yeah, I think it's easy for us to relate because
Right.
as Marines, you believe that what you're doing is affecting the world for the better, or you're making some change. And I feel like maybe Mattis, it's stated in his letter that Mattis, he didn't really agree with how the president's actually moving the military. So that's the reason why he resigned, and I feel like that should have been the right move.
Sure, I mean,
yeah.
But General Mattis, he essentially had the same issue with President Obama when he was commander of CENTCOM, I believe. He had some differences of how the military should operate and be used in the Middle East, and Obama said no. And I believe they forced him to retire. But yeah, honestly, I thought Trump hired General Mattis so he can kind of appease his base. But General Mattis he's a general, so obviously he wants the military to stay until the mission is complete. But rarely does military strategy and political ambition, come like this. It's more like like we don't. Yeah, they don't, and that was his campaign promise, and he was going to fulfill that. At the behest of the allies over there. I mean, so not surprising. I don't think anybody should be surprised.
Yeah, I can't imagine just being in General Mattis' shoes. He's complained many times.
I could. He wears a size 11.
Yeah.
I wear that size. So I know how.
Just imagining that. I mean, as more than anyone else, that General Mattis absolutely loves his troops.
Of course,
you hear these legendary stories about him putting himself in a lower enlisted shoes.
Yeah.
It's not surprising, when he's going up against a president who has no political end state with what he's doing with the military.
Nor does he have any military experience. But
yes,
I mean, that's fine. But yeah, like I said, nobody should be surprised. And we're not going to talk about Trump right now. We have plenty of time to do that, in future episodes. So, but I do want to talk about toxic masculinity because I was on Facebook the other day on my phone, and there was a Gillette commercial that played, and it's dealing with toxic masculinity. And I actually posed the question on my Facebook, and I had people answer. And I'm still actually trying to figure out what toxic masculinity is, like what elements of masculinity is toxic. And I'm sure there's some. I'm sure there's some for sure. But I want to play the commercial, and we can kind of dissect it from there. And I'm going to look for them in my phone. So if we can get that spinning, we shall proceed.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual
Toxic
harassment.
masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it? We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
And there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Smile, sweetie. Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Bro, not cool. Not cool.
Some already are. In ways big and small.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
It's not how we treat each other, okay? Okay.
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
So there was quite a lot to kind of unpack there. I guess we can take it one by one. Bullying, yeah, that's, of course, we shouldn't allow bullying. The Me Too movement, obviously that's a big thing. And Roger, that's, men should speak out, men should hold other men accountable. Got that. The boys fighting, I don't think I see anything wrong with that. I mean, my brother and I, we played wrestling growing up. I mean, we're two boys. You have to, I don't know, boys fight. Is that a toxic trait of men?
I'm not sure. I mean, like, I've had a brother, and we've always fought growing up. We still fight.
Right, exactly.
We're adults.
Yeah, and I fight my brother, and I win all the time.
Yeah, but it's very difficult to define what toxic masculinity is. Like, when I first heard the word, I was like, what is that? What does that mean? I'm not sure exactly what it means, and started trying to do more research, and I couldn't really get a clear answer on what that was. And for me, this ad, I'm not. When I first saw it, I was like, what ad is this a Gillette? Like, cause Gillette is like, it's shaving and grooming.
They're prepping for the Super Bowl. You always have, product companies, that try to, strike at like a heart of social movement. One thing, okay, so like I posted this on Facebook. It says, what is toxic masculinity? And shout out to Matthew Walters, Tony Penn, both Marines, same unit, and Samantha Alford. She probably gave one of the most eloquent comments. But I do see a pattern here. And what she said was harmful stereotypes and societal norms, expectations of how men are supposed to act or look. It is so much more than physical. It can be very subtle or very overt. Examples, boys being bullied for taking ballet classes, men being made fun of for being nurses, so on and so forth. Matthew said, a man using his physical prowess over a female or actually anyone for nefarious reasons. And Tony Penn said the way he perceived it was a negative attitude towards a man who shows expression or, a loving and caring side, like when he cuddles with his son, that could be considered toxic. So the theme I'm seeing is dealing with like emotions and, can a man show emotion? And if they do show emotion, I mean, are they a bitch, right? That's
I think
a common thing that I saw. Yeah,
I think I think that should be supported if toxic masculinity is defined in such a way, because we're Marines, so that is the epitome of hyper masculinity culture. If you can't run fast, you can't shoot, you can't fight, you're basically a bitch.
Of course.
So so it's. And in the Marine Corps, you kind of see the problems associated with that. Right. You see a lot of, if you talk about these problems, if you complain about your injury, you're a bitch. So take some Motrin, change out your socks, and walk it off.
Yeah, exactly.
So and a lot of Marines. I mean, it's difficult to say why is expressing your emotions considered feminine. Why is that? No one can define why that's feminine. So it's like if you're not the most physically fit, like why is that?
Why are you less than a man?
Yeah, so it's I think it's very pervasive. It's very I wouldn't say it's toxic. It's just it isn't very helpful. But I think that's what I'm seeing as what toxic masculinity is. Not really. I still can't really define it in a way, but I guess that if that's the pattern if the paradigm that we're going.
Sure, like the constant or the most continued thing. But you know what? Now, I mean, yeah, we are Marines, and a lot of Marines do commit suicide.
Yeah.
Several guys I know committed suicide, and one guy in particular, about 2 weeks ago, he committed suicide, and he was a guy. And I don't know of too many female veterans, who do commit suicide. I don't know the stats on that, and I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure it happens. But my buddy, on the 21st of December, he blew his brains out. He was drinking, and I went to the funeral about 4 days ago. It was on the 15th. So he committed suicide, and I called another one of my friends, and I'm like, "Yo, this is what happened." I mean, we talked like the day of. We said we were gonna kick it, and and he did that. And then we go into the to the fact that, well, we being Marines or veterans, we're hard charging, we don't feel pain, and sometimes we're not allowed to express that pain that we do feel, and sometimes we bottle that in, and once it reaches boiling point, then pop goes the weasel. And I don't know if that's causation. I don't know if there's any correlation into any of that. If bottling up your emotions and not talking about it leads to suicide, I'm not sure. I'm sure it might have something to do with it, but I can't be sure. But I mean, when he said that, like you said, we aren't supposed to be weak. We are Marines, but we are human and we feel pain and we do feel sadness sometimes. And if that is the case, then sure, there are elements of masculinity that is toxic and it needs to be addressed. And I think, it does deserve some, like introspection, instead of attacking other causes by saying, oh, well, we're not toxic, you are. I think, to pause and say, well, maybe we should kind of look into this and look into yourself and see, well, is this an issue moving forward? I mean, is this issue affecting the veteran community or other minority communities? And if it is, which it very well may be, then, we have to do our due diligence and address that issue.
I think it's important to remember that to define what it is, but also to know where it comes from, because like growing up, we didn't really know we never heard this term before. It's actually a rather recent thing.
No, yeah, I agree with you.
So
it's very recent,
so it's you're like, where is this from? Is it American culture? Is it seen in the minority culture? Like, do you experience it, or do you see evidence of that in the African American minority group, or do you see evidence of that in the Asian American group?
Yeah. But the funny thing, I mean, not to be insulting here, but I mean, for the most part, generally speaking, Asians are sometimes viewed as less masculine than others, right?
Yes. So yeah, it's Asian men are kind of I guess they're viewed as like effeminate and such. You also see it in the LGBT community quite a bit.
Yeah.
You see a lot of I guess the masculine gaze being like, right. Oh, I don't like men who act feminine, and it's
right.
like, well, what is feminine? Is it using their hands like this? Like what? What exactly is that?
Go to West Hollywood and you'll have some.
Yeah. So it's kind of I feel like judging a person based on how they act or based on this perception of masculinity, femininity, I think is maybe probably kind of the whole toxic masculinity culture
or toxic culture in general, possibly.
Yeah, so it's kind of, so for me, I feel like toxic masculinity is maybe a misnomer, because you don't see this in other countries. Maybe, I mean, maybe there is.
Well, I mean, I think Japan. I mean, as far as like female rights, I mean, they're way behind the curve.
Yes.
I mean, like they actually, and we know certain countries in the Middle East. I mean, if you're a female, you don't really exist,
you see evidence of that. Like, for example, South Korea is a very Confucianist-oriented culture. So men have all the power and things like that. Where but nowadays it's a bit different, because like back in the 90s, over there the salaryman was the idealized. Oh, that's a very sexy. But nowadays you see like the whole K-pop. They're very feminine. Dyed hair, earrings. Very defined.
Yeah, that was
abs.
me in high school,
That's pretty boys. That's the it's like, but then they go around, oh, like, am I going to be judged as effeminate or gay? Like, what is that? Like,
I mean, it could be a lot, and but I'm sure moving forward we'll dig into a lot of that stuff. And for the audience, if you guys continue to watch, which I hope you do, because obviously you guys probably have nothing better to do, but stay home and engage in chronic masturbation activities, you guys should. You guys should tune in. I should have stayed serious. You guys should tune in. It's going to be great. We're going to have a lot of cool topics. But until next time, I bid you guys adieu, and peace. Okay, I think we're good.
Don't move.
Sorry.
Okay, so look at camera 2 here. Smile. Look at each other, shake hands.
Can we do like a pinky? Okay, sure.
Okay, so now that's cut. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, so she wants you to do your show closer on this.
Okay, cool.
Stand by. 5, 4, 3.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. You guys probably didn't tune in anyway, so whatever. Fuck you. But anyway, moving forward, I hope you guys watch. We're gonna have a lot of cool stuff coming up. We're gonna try to maintain a very moderate view on a lot of the issues. I mean, we're gonna be talking about the wall. We're gonna talk about what Trump needs to do to remain in office. We're gonna talk about what the Democrats do need to take the office. So there's gonna be a lot of topics, and we're gonna talk about Pornhub and how they're leading the industry in technological advancements. So tune in, and until next time, bye.
Okay, cut. So she wants you to do that again
Okay.
after he adjusts the camera. Stand by. 5, 4. Wait. Three, 2.
Yo, what's good, guys? Yo, thank you guys for tuning in. You guys should follow me on Instagram, or not. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Facebook, Twitter, maybe, possibly. But anyway, tune in because moving forward, we're gonna hit you guys with some bangers. We're gonna talk about Republicans. We're gonna talk about Democrats, how they both suck. It's gonna be great. We're gonna talk about a lot of issues: the wall, border security, so on and so forth. What Democrats need to do in 2020, what Trump needs to do in 2020 to remain in office. We might even try to get Stormy Daniels on here. See, yeah, that'd be great. Anyway, tune in, and hopefully you guys, enjoy the show. Stormy, hi, Stormy.
Can we get Mia Khalifa?